Hello, welcome back to Jojo's Bakehouse. I'm Ginny and today we're going to be looking at fondant. So I've seen many people asking me, how do you cover a cake with fondant? So I'm going to go through this with you today with all my tips that I've got and hopefully it will help. Now I'm going to be starting with my cake like this. If you've done my courses before, you will have seen in the straight edge course how I get this straight edged smooth cake like this. If you haven't seen it, I'll pop a link underneath in the comments box. So before we even tackle fondant and go on to it, I have to go through how to ganache a cake. Now ganache is the best underlayer for fondant because it sets so hard and then it gives you that brilliant working blanket almost. It's smooth, it's sharp, and it really will give you that form to be able to lay the fondant on top of. So that's what we're going to do first. Now the tools that you're going to need for today is obviously a cake. Because of the fondant, you're going to need your bench scrapers, which I always recommend metal because of them being able to be heated, which we're going to use, and I'll show you that. I've got my sugar paste or fondant, whichever. I've got some fondant smoothers, a palette knife, a cranked one. I've got some different smoothers, so I'm going to go through what different ones are like. And then I've got ganache, a rolling pin, some corn flour, and we'll just take it from there. So first off, I have some ganache here. Now this is the ganache I use for covering the top of the cake. If you did my course before, I used a 1-to-1 method for just putting a lovely whipped effect around a cake. But this time we need it to be extremely hard, so we're using a 2-to-1 ratio with milk chocolate or plain chocolate. So for this one I have used 300 grams of milk chocolate, or dark chocolate. I've actually used dark, and 150 grams or mils, it really doesn't matter, they're virtually the same, of double cream. So I've done that this morning, left it on the side until it's around about this consistency. Okay, you don't really want it to be any harder than that because we have to put it on the cake and it's going to firm up when we pop it into the fridge. So I'm going to move all this away and bring you in closer so you can see exactly what I'm doing, and we're going to begin. Okay, let's begin. So I'm going to put some of my ganache across the top of the cake. And just smooth that out using a backwards and forwards method. Now this is quite stiff. My cake has come out of the fridge, so it's setting that ganache already. So just be aware when you're working with ganache like this, you are having to work fairly quickly. So we're just bringing it all over using a backwards and forwards method just to smooth out to the ends. Not overly worrying at this point if it's straight, because we will sort that out. Right round to those edges, and then we're going to do the trick that we always do, scrape it off, and then put your knife, your cake is fairly straight already, so you shouldn't have much messing with this. Put that knife right down like this, like we always do, finger touching the knife here. This is where you're going to look. You're then going to lift up the knife on a slight angle, and always just watching here to make sure that this doesn't drop. You don't look at the cake, you're only looking where your finger is, and bring the cake table round. Keep looking at that one spot, don't look anywhere else because otherwise you'll drop. And there we go. So you can see then on here I've got a patch here and I've got patches here where obviously it wasn't completely straight on me. So I'm just going to fill those in, and then we'll go in and we'll go all the way around again. We just want to make sure that the whole thing is completely straight. Okay, wipe that off, back in again, and we're not pushing and digging in, we're trying to take a lot off, we're gliding, so just let the knife loosely sit on the top, turn it, and then bring it all the way around. Keep looking in that one spot. we are. Just have one tiny area here, still not quite hitting off. Perfect. So there we go. We've got a completely smooth top here, and that's exactly the way we want it. We don't really want to play much more with this, so I'm just going to faintly go over the top here just to now I want to make sure that it's all lovely and smooth across the top there. And you will feel already that it is starting to pull and cling a little bit. There we go. Right, so now we're going to do the sides. Now ganache can be a real pain to put up on the sides because it's wet. So just take what you can and just scrape it on. Let's move that spoon. So again, popping it on, backwards and forwards motion, just to spread it. Again, all the way backwards and forwards, keep going. Don't waste any, go back round, pick up your bits, that one. Now we'll come near the top, again, backwards and forwards. This is quite quick. If you have got too much in one place, just drag it up on a diagonal. Right, we're nearly there. Ganache gives cake such a lovely shiny finish as well. And if you wanted to do something as hard as this without fondant, you can, or you can do the whipped one, which we've done previously. Right, let's pull this up and we are done. Just go round. I'm just going to use my knife there just to quickly go round and make sure that everything's looking like it should do. There's no massive gaps or anything. Make sure that you've got some across the tops here. We want that ridge to go up, because that, like the other one, is what we're going to cut off to create those really, really smooth edges. Right, so now, in with the scraper. Same way what we always do it. So you're holding onto your scraper, pop it onto your board, distribute the weight all the way through the scraper here. So if you hold down towards the bottom, your knife is more likely to do this. If you hold at the top, your knife is more likely to do that. So spread your fingers out. I've only got little hands. Make sure that one of your little fingers, if you can, hits the board, so that you always feel that while that finger is on the board, that knife, this scraper, is always on the board as well. Then what we're going to do is slowly move this in until it hits. Make sure it's all completely lined up. Look through, keep the angle on, and then I'm looking here on the inside, and I'm just going to keep looking at that one spot, never anywhere else, and we're going to take this all the way around, just looking at that one spot. Through your finger, making sure that you can feel that the scraper is always touching the board. Never look anywhere apart from this one spot on the cake. And there we go. Right, so now we're straight. Let's fill in these little gaps, and you can feel it's starting to get tough already. So we will deal with that. These little holes, just fill in as best you can. You really do want this to be smooth for the fondant, because it really is going to pick up any of those marks you've got underneath. And then I'm going to go around once more. Right, that's loosened up brilliantly, so I'm going to put that on now. We're going to take our scraper and put it in the hot water that we've got in the saucepan on the back there. always have a saucepan on the back, because you can use a kettle, but the temperature will just keep going down and you will have to keep on and on boiling the kettle and going back to it. So if you just keep a pan on the back, you've got a consistent heat coming through. Right, we're just going to fill all of these gaps in with the wetter. You see, when this is rock solid nearly on the top now, so the cold from the cake really does do its job. Right, wipe my hands and get out. Just get my tea towel to wipe this off. Let's wipe this down. And then bit by bit, because we just need to get into the larger parts. So back in again. Then anywhere you see bumps, we're just slightly going over those. So see here, it's gone quite bumpy. So now I'll do that in one part, and then we'll do the next part, and then we'll just do a final skim around. It's actually very quick to put ganache on, because you have to work so fast with it. Right, so on this section here now, just let it touch and melt, push in, and see, it becomes completely smooth just there. So we're just going to keep doing that for the moment, all the way around, and I'll come back to you in a moment. Okay, so now it's smooth enough around the side, so we just filled those parts in with the heat. So now you want to do is, see any of these marks here, we just want to take some of this ganache, and it is going hard now, but this is hard as well. And where you've got holes, just put some on and use the side of the knife just to try and scrape it back on it off again, and leave it quite flush. So we do that all the way around here. Everywhere where you can see a mark, just on and off again. One at the top here. Right, and then we're going to hold the scraper in a different way, which I wouldn't do this for buttercream, because this has gone hard now, so you can use quite a bit of pressure on it. So put your scraper back in, let it heat, give it a wipe off, and then hold it so that this part hits the side here, and you're kind of pushing in really with the whole full side of it. Just keep looking the other side to make sure that it is staying right on the cake, and then see, it's really smoothing this off so well. Here, I mean, you've got different colours at the moment, and that's because some's wet and some's dry, but it isn't going to take long. Make sure that water that you've got on the back is boiling. Come back in again, square on, get that edge and just put it right on there. It will be lifting because it's melting. Looks so nice. Ganache is such a lovely finish to a cake, and this is why it's so important underneath the fondant. So I'm just going to finish off those last couple of bits, and then we're going to come and cut the top off. Okay, as you can see there, we have a beautifully smooth cake. the whole way round. And that is just heat and making sure that you hold your scraper properly. So the last thing we need to do is, normally with a cake you put it in the fridge, but this is so hard because of the ratios that we've used. So now we're able to just cut the top off this one. So my knife has been in water on the back, so it's hot, and then we're going to come in from the top, move across, and then always look here. Don't look anywhere else. Lock it in. Don't move the knife, just the table. If it gets tacky, lift up. And then we will get rid of those. Put it back in again. So we're going to do this. I'll do half with you and then I'll do half afterwards. So again, my knife's hot. Straight in. If you want to hold the top of it, that's fine, but just make sure that you keep looking in that one place. Do not let that knife move. Come up and remove it. Okay, so here is our completely smooth-edged, sharp ganached cake. Now, if when you look around the lip, because obviously with a fondant cake the lip is quite important, if you have any bits that you are concerned about, get your knife and then just put it against the top. Once it's been in the water, the heat will just melt whatever you want back in and it will sort all of that out. So I'm going to clean up my board, pop it in the fridge, and because we want it to be rock solid, I'm going to leave my cake in the fridge for about half an hour and then we're going to pop the fondant on. So I'll see you in a moment. Right, my cake is there. I've just taken it out of the fridge. Here we go. It is lovely and hard, just the way that we want it. Now, I'm going to take it out of the fridge and leave it on the side while we work with the fondant. And the reason for that is if you take it directly out of the fridge, put the fondant straight over the top, the condensation comes through and it can make your cake get quite tacky, and then it's really hard to try and smooth the top of it because everything will stick to it because the moisture's coming through from the cake. So it's fondant, it's hard, it's exactly the way we want it to be. We'll just leave it there just to do its thing until we've got the fondant ready. So now we need to talk about fondant. So, my rolling pin, and I will use corn flour just to dust down, and then let's get all these little bits here. And this is my fondant that I use. Let's talk to you about fondant now. If you want to cover a board, a cake board, like I have done with quite a few times, and there's a tutorial about that if you wanted to cover a cake board, the supermarket bought fondant is perfect for that. When you're going over just a normal size cake, 2 layers, and you want to use fondant, again, supermarket fondant is fine for that. And if you're a complete whiz at fondant, you might be able, with supermarket, to just cover the whole of a tall cake with it, and well done, because it just doesn't work for me. I find that there's not enough elasticity in the fondant with those, so I had to find something a bit more expensive. And I've gone through the same as you with all these things. I have just wanted to cry the amount of times I've tried to put the fondant on a cake. Now, I went through all the recommendations that I heard from people about what I should buy, from the most expensive down towards the cheapest, and I've tried them all. Now, this one is just my personal opinion. It's called the sugar paste. I find it really affordable for what you get. It's 1 kg. I pay in euro, so I pay a £5 for this. In England, I'm not overly sure what it is, but if I just say €5, you can convert that. It holds a lot of elasticity in it. It's very, very good. There's also some more expensive ones, which you can have a look around online. And again, they are extremely good, but you are really, really paying for those. So for affordability wise, I'm using this one today. So how to begin with fondant. Now, I'm not known for my muscle power. Let's take it out. Okay. Now, if I was going to try and do something with this now, this is humiliating, but I'm doing this for you. Right. This is just, I can't. Like, it's so hard. I'd be there all day trying to, I mean, it's not going to happen, okay? So what I'm going to do is just break it into pieces with my strength. And what we're going to do is pop this into the microwave for around about 20 seconds. And then that is just going to loosen this off and make life so much easier. So, let's get this into the microwave. Right, look, oh, how much easier was that? Right, so then we can just mould all of these, and that took me about 25 seconds. I pulled them into pieces just so that you're not, like the microwave, it just works in one place, so you do not want just the middle of this to get really, really elastic and the outside not to be, and just a mess. So make sure that you do just take it into segments when you put it into the microwave. Right, now please make sure that you clean down your whole side for fondant, and if you're wearing anything with big thick wool or anything, don't wear that because you will get hairs in it and it will end up, hairs love fondant. So we just try and make sure that we're not working with anything around that can transfer onto this. So then, what do you use for it not to stick? I use corn flour for that. If you use icing sugar will, if this gets at all sticky, icing sugar will stick to this and allow the moisture to come through in stickiness, and you'll just put more on and it's absorbing that icing sugar, because that's predominantly what this is sugar. So, corn flour. Corn flour will not absorb into it, it just has a layer over the top. So I'm just going to put some of this down and move it from side to side. Right, you don't want to use too much. If you, all over the side there like I have, and now I have got like a covering, push these bits over either side, and then you can pull in later if you need to. We don't want to dry this out. Right, how big are we going? So I have a little trick. Let's bring this cake in. I've got some parchment paper here that I've cut, and then I have just gone like this over the top of my cake. Now that is hanging over the sides, and that gives me a little bit extra, so I know this is where I want to be. So I then got another piece of parchment and I measured this, so I'm slightly out by about an inch there, exactly right that way, and that way. So I know that my roll has to be bigger than this here, but the same size all the way around. So that's what I'm going to do. So we want to get this into it. You don't want to leave it too long to stiffen back up again, because otherwise there wasn't really a lot of point. You don't want to over knead it either. You just want to bring it in together nicely. See, I can use it now. I feel so strong when I'm not. Right. Let's get all this in into a nice ball. Right. And then we're just going to start rolling. So you go a couple of times one way and pick it up and turn it. And again. And this way you're going to keep going round. And if you do get air bubbles all the way throughout, then you can just pop those with a needle. Right, So this is going to go on and on. So you don't need to see me do this because it's quite a lot. So we're just turning and turning all the time until we get that desired shape. So I'll be back to you when I have my fondant. Right, I have plenty that way, plenty this way, and this all fits. So I know I'm good. Right, we have our cake. Let's move this rolling pin. Now the other thing that you need to do is, let's just, hands under, move it gently over. Okay. And I also have a knife. This is my knife, no one's allowed to go near that. That's fairly sharp. And that's what I use for my fondant. Just use this. Just have a little bit of a clean down there. Right, when you bring your cake over, don't bring the board. You don't want too much weight. Weight is what is going to make your cake want to crack, rip, and get that elephant skin. Elephant skin is just where it's where it's stretching too far and it can't take it. So that we don't want that. Right, this is brilliant and you can put your hands on it, but as you can feel, it's not sticky. And your fondant is not really going to want to stick to that. So what we're going to do is just put your hands under the tap, rub them together and come straight back. If I just put my tap on. Right, I've just rubbed my hands together, over the top and around the sides there. That's not melting it. You're giving your cake something to stick to. And then obviously that was chocolate, so please make sure that your hands are clean after that. Otherwise you're going to be getting chocolate everywhere. Right, here goes the fun. It's time to move this on. You can use a rolling pin if you like, but I prefer to just use my hands. Let me just remove my watch. Right. Moving everything out of the way that could have anything hairy on it. Right. Where am I? Far too much that side. There we go. Straight in. And let's secure those edges down. So pull this out. Pull this out. Out. You're just lifting it up like a skirt. And here. And again. Lifting up the skirt. Like this. I'll just do it at the back here. And then your cake is fairly safe there for the moment. The reason we've done this is because then you haven't got the whole weight pulling over the side. This is now stuck. So there's no weight dragging it down. And then I take my 2 fingers and I just run them around the top part. And you can just see that lovely lip coming. Across there. Okay. Right. Now I'm going to get you and pull you into me. Okay, you can actually see what I'm doing now. Again, just go around that top part there. Right. Now this always used to confuse me. People were doing strange things with this. Right. So lift up. See the cake underneath? Lift up like it's a skirt. And you don't want to push. If you push really hard with your hand down, you're automatically doing this. You're pushing it and you're going to make it rip. So what you want to do is take a section of this, keep it out because this is where you're going to get flat, and then just with your hand push it against the cake. Okay? So it always looks like you're pushing down, but you're not. Again, lift up the skirt and push it against. Again, lift up the skirt and push it against. Whoop. Here, pull it apart and just make that come down there like that. There we go. Lovely. And again, pulling it apart, just pull these sides away from one another and then they won't meet up so much. Here we've got quite a gather. Pull them right apart from one another. And go underneath and pull that one, there we go. It is a lengthy process of going down and around, but just when you come up against a patch, just go in from underneath. Make it the way where you want it to be. Again, pull it apart. So hard doing this over the top of you. You can really see it coming together there now. Look, we're halfway down. It's really just so much patience. Pull the skirt up. Don't let the weight ruin it. Any problems, pull up that skirt. There we go, pull up the skirt. Pull up the skirt. Smooth the cake. Okay. Keep going round. Pull it apart. Pull up the skirt. Closer till you get to the bottom. You want to be doing this. And smooth your cake. Getting there. So again, pull it apart, pull up your skirt and smooth. And there, pull it apart, pull up your skirt. When you're pulling up your skirt, you just don't want any creases in there. The minute you come across a crease is where you're going to have an issue. So you always pull it apart and pull up your skirt. It is so time consuming. I think when you see videos of this and you see them do it and it takes them about 30 seconds, I think, what have I done wrong? I really don't think it takes them 30 seconds. I think they cut the camera off quite a lot. Okay, pulling it up. Oh, lovely. When you're holding this bit up, you're stopping that weight. This is such nice sugar paste. It really is letting me play with it so well. It has got that elasticity to it, it really is happy. It's quite important as well. You stuck my finger through that one. It is quite important as well that you don't have too much around the outside. Again, that is waste. So you could cut this down now, in fact we will. So to the end of your board here, just we're going to cut down because this is going to help you a lot. But make sure you're not pulling, you're just taking it where it's resting. And get rid of some of this weight. Again, just pull it apart and press gently. You do not want to be pulling against anything. So here, pull it apart to the bottom. Knife is so sharp. Right. Oops. Let's get rid of all of this. This is just added weight. I know where a lot of the creases are now. Right, so we got rid of that. And back to it. And it will get easier now because you haven't got as much there across the bottom. Right. Pull it up. Always pulling up so that there is no pull. And we're sticking. So what I'm doing now across the bottom is I'm taking my hand and pushing it into the cake. So I'm almost forcing the fondant, but pushing, never pulling down. Ooh, sometimes it'll feel like you've just lifted off what you've just done, but you haven't. Oh, its little skirt's quite short there. It's a little mini skirt. Right. Stick, push in, slide, I put my finger through that just a minute ago, that's clever, at least we'll be able to see, you can get rid of it. Right, push in, so close to the bottom, push in, lift the skirt, push in, lift the skirt, push in. Lovely. And lift. And push in. Look, we're nearly at the bottom. Right. Really wouldn't recommend doing this with long nails. Right, let's my hands in there. Let's get these last bits down. It really is a lot of patience and trying not to panic. So long as you work with your fondant and it's a decent one, you're going to be fine. always just fanning it out, and the bottom bit is really just pressing against. You're forcing that now to join, because those bottom parts won't join, they don't want to. So just using this part of your hand, in, push it down, in, against the cake, always against that cake. Oh, nearly, I thought I was there. Right. Okay, now we have fondant on our cake. There we go. So now we're going to come in with the scrapers. So I have various different scrapers here. So I have the standard ones here. Always just rub them down just in case. And then with this one, let's just flatten that top right off. Lovely. Stick to those side edges. And then we've also got the acetate ones. I love these for intricate parts like this. So, hang on, that one's too small. If I show you with that one. Okay. So you want to make sure that it's as tall as your cake, because as you're coming down with this one, as I was coming up, I could have skagged the top part of this. So I'm just going to pop it there, and then just make an indentation in the bottom part. Then I'm going to come back down and make another indentation in the bottom part. So this is just pushing down there for me now and making marks. So I'm coming round with it and pushing down. And because this is flexible, it will move with the cake. And there we go, down again. Down again. And this is just forcing it into the bottom bit where it's meeting as well. Make sure all your pieces meet up nicely. Nearly there. Last one. Lovely. Right, now you can follow this line with your knife. We can bring our board back in as well now, our turntable. Lovely. Are you back? Yep. Right, follow your mark. Moving, same as we always do, we always move the board and keep our eyes on what we're doing, never looking away. And keep your knife pointing down, not in, because you're going to cut into that cake. Right, there we are. So now we just need to clean it up. So I'm now going to take this one and just go around the side of the cake in a round and around way. Make sure it's all completely stuck. And this is where, if you did have any lumps and bumps in the side of your cake, you're really going to notice it. So I'll put another one on the top. just to make sure that it's completely in at the bottom. Right, lovely. It's making a lovely straightness all the way down there as well. Okay. Right, let's get this completely in at the bottom. So now I'm just using this just to push down the bottom parts, just to make it stick into the bottom there. Take one of these and put it on the side of the cake here, and then squeeze this over and do this the whole way round. And then this will push these two together. And you can put so much weight on this because of the ganache underneath. It really is so forgiving. If you were using buttercream with this, you're not going to be able to do the same thing. Okay, as you can see there now, that's come in really nice. Right, so to get it even cleaner, just sort my top part out. Oh, lovely. So now we're all smooth all around the edges. Okay, I do have a slight little glitch here, but I would always put ribbon around the bottom. If I didn't have this glitch, I would work my way down and down and it would come down, but I am going to put ribbon on it. So right, these I would really, really recommend. This one to start with, it just doesn't do the same job. So I've showed you how to get that kind of edge with these two. These are completely different. So now we're going to hold this round here. Take the top of this one. So this is like it was before on the way down. And then we're just going to push this one up to the edge. Now be very careful when you're moving this that you don't you don't want to nudge the top of the fondant. So you really are just pressing the two of them against one another. Okay. You really see that forming there across the top. There we go. Right. And a good smooth off across the top there. Okay, and you can see these edges really, really coming up. And then you can just work and work and work on these. There we go. Again, even just your fingers can be fantastic. Just keep them closed in together. And it will bring everything exactly the way you want it to. There we are. There we go. Ooh, I'm falling off. So there is our fondant cake. Now I'm going to put the skirt around, the ribbon around the bottom as well. We are so smooth across the top. all completely smooth all around here. Those edges, like I said, you can just keep going. You can squeeze together with your fingers as well. There's so many different techniques of how to get this completely sharp. So you can just squeezing motion between your fingers all the way around. See how sharp that's become there? Just keep going. So that's quite a few different techniques now to get in those really sharp edges on the fondant top. Okay, and then there we go. Right, so let me tidy this up, I'll be straight back to you. Right, so I put a little bit of ribbon around the bottom there because I always think it finishes it off absolutely lovely. Like I said, we have got the little mark on the side there. If you'd have kept rubbing, it would have pushed down. We have got a lovely smooth topped, sharp edged fondant cake using these and this and my sugar paste, the sugar paste, or whichever brand that you choose. So make sure that when you are choosing your fondant, that when you pull it apart, it does pull like almost like chewing gum. It shouldn't pull apart and just tear. If that's happening, there is not that elasticity inside of it. So I really hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. I hope it was helpful. And I know that these are lengthy, but I tried to get in as much information as I possibly can for you on step by step, and I didn't fast forward it either, so you managed to do it with me. So this is how we fondant a cake. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you do like it, give me a like and a subscribe, and I will see you soon. Take care. Bye bye.